Welcome to the Buzz Panel. I'm Sula, and today's podcast we will be getting an insight into the Christchurch Casino, the home of New Zealand poker. So no further ado, let me introduce to you all Joe French, owner-operator of 9-2-Off Productions, which is best known for their social media updates for the Christchurch Casino and their major events.
Hi, Sula.
Kia ora, Joe, and welcome to the show.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us today. Appreciate your time.
That's great.
So, Joe, let me ask, I'm very intrigued, and I know the viewers are going to love this too, but the name of your media company, 9-2-Off Productions. So is there more to that than meets the eye? Like, how did you come up with that? I think it's fantastic.
It's my birthday, September the
Oh, there
2nd.
you go.
So it's actually as simple as that. But it is also to do with being Boys Cards. And ever since we've been going to events, people keep pulling us aside occasionally going, I'm like, don't tell everybody what you've got, like over here what you've got, and don't play them.
Yeah. What a poker tell is that? Guess what I've got? So, Joe, how did you actually start? What made you start 9-2-Off Productions, like media for poker?
It was all really accidental. So I'm an ex-staff member of Christchurch. I worked there between 2004 and 2014. After I left there, it was great because I was able to play poker at the casino, because you can't play there if you're an employee. So I didn't play much, but I did play. I generally played the women's event at the New Zealand Poker Champs. Then I think 2018, I kind of moved a little bit further away from the casino and didn't actually get in to play or even watch a lot of what was going on during the NZPC. And there was nothing online, no updates, nothing to say. There was a little bit of what had happened the day before, the day after, like who had won, who had placed, who had cashed, but not much while the event was happening. And there was a lot of talk on the Facebook page about where the updates were and maybe somebody should do it and could they get somebody to do it, because it's really hard for them as staff and as the people who run the event to actually do what we do as well. It's a bit time consuming. It's for them it would be employee heavy. So I went in the day after it finished in 2018 and said, where are the updates? And somebody said to me, go and talk to Warren and maybe you could do it. And I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to, because I kind of want to play. But so what happened was the next event was in November that year, and I offered to cover the main event on my own for one seat into another event. So basically that was all. It was just a trade-off, one event for one seat. Because I thought it would just be a simple one person, one job type deal, and it turned into a not very simple job for two people. So
I can vouch for that.
Yeah, famous last words, I think, was me at 3 o'clock in the morning when I was like, never again. But, so I actually did have help that day anyway, and that's where it all started. So every 3 months when Christchurch Casino has their big tournament, which they have for a year, the Wellington Poker Champs in March and the New Zealand Poker Champs, which are in August, and they're the two big ones. And then they have what they call the No Limit Hold'em Champ in November, and the Autumn Classic, which is about May, and they're much smaller events. They still get a lot of people travelling to them, and we negotiate with them for each event when it comes up to see what they want from us and how they want it updated, if they want updates, what they want updated, and then we go from there.
Yeah, speaking of the championships, I see that the NZ Poker Championships are coming up. They're scheduled for August 15th through the 23rd of August. But before we get into that, Joe, to talk about the actual Poker Championships, just briefly, obviously the pandemic, Corona, COVID, whatever you want to call it, has hit the world. How has that actually affected New Zealand as a whole, and obviously with the poker? And do you know anything that's obviously being put in place at the moment with the Christchurch Casino for the COVID, for these championships coming up? So how's all that panned out?
So New Zealand's actually in a really good place COVID-wise. We went into a complete nationwide lockdown for 4 weeks at the end of March. And then it took about 4 weeks at different levels to come back out of it. We're currently at level 1 at the moment, which just means our borders are closed. We have no social distancing mandates or anything like that. So everything is running kind of as per usual, but everyone's a little bit more wary of what they do these days. There's a lot more hand washing. There are sanitizing stations everywhere now that people can use and do use a lot now. So in that respect, we're in a good place. It means that poker is being played live again, and it's getting comparable numbers to what it did before the lockdown happened. Some places it's getting much better numbers than it did before the lockdown happened. No one was keen on the amount of online poker they were playing and how they were playing online poker. So the fact that we can all play live poker again is an added bonus at this time.
So just talking then about these NZ Poker Championships coming up, they sound so exciting. I've got the schedule I'll put up in a moment, but like on average, Joe, how many runners do you expect or do you get on average on these events on a yearly basis? Does it change a lot, or is it pretty much similar year to year? Like, has it grown?
Yeah, so there was the poker boom in the mid-2000s where poker grew from around 2004 till 2010, and then it did die off quite significantly for about the next 4 or 5 years. And then since 2015-16, we've seen a considerable growth with the game at the major events every single year. Last year, can't remember how many runners they had for the main event. I'm not sure how many individual runners they had, but they had something like 160 entries at the end of the day, and they gave away 107,000 up top, which is almost unheard of in this country, of a casino just doing that without the backing of a sponsorship from like the WPT or somebody else. So COVID's kind of screwed that up a little bit this year. The numbers will be much lower because the casinos' operating hours have changed. So they're open for less hours. So as you see by the schedule, shortly, the room is only open for a maximum of 14 hours a day, 12 during the week and 14 on the weekends. So they've cut back the numbers, which is going to make it interesting because these events will probably sell out before competition goes ahead, which is kind of a little bit unheard of with Christchurch events as well. So it should be an exciting week regardless of what happens.
Okay, so let's have a look at this schedule just to give the audience a little bit of a insight of what's going to happen. Too bad, hopefully maybe the borders will be down for some Aussies to get over there. That'd be great.
That's what you're eyeing for. Yeah, come on over. We'll take your money.
It'll be one of those reasons, I have to go to New Zealand. Why? Because there's a poker championship going on. Please let me through.
Very important.
Yeah, it is. Top of the list. Okay, I'll just put up the schedule and we can run through it.
Okay.
Well, you can run through it for us. So
Okay.
it actually starts on the 15th.
Yep.
So the buy-ins, the entry amounts are they're not too bad, are they?
No, they're not. So the main event's pretty much the same as it was last year. Sorry, I just dropped my laptop everywhere, which is good because it's covered up by the schedule. So the main event is, I think it's the same price that it was last year, at $2,000 an entry. Then we've got the Roger Swilf Memorial Pot Limit Omaha Championships, which is on the Sunday. That's always a fun game, even just to watch that one with everybody getting their chips in every single hand. Is what happens with Omaha events. But that one's named for a gentleman that played a lot of his Omaha. He was an institution within the room at Christchurch Casino. So that almost looked like at one point not happening this year, but there was enough ruckus on the Facebook pages this year that they've managed to get it back in. So everyone's really happy about that. Yeah. And then a couple of days later, on the Wednesday, we have the Women's Championships, which I'm very excited about. The price of that has gone up.
Briefly,
Yeah.
do you actually get to play the women's now, or you have to work?
No. So my deal with the two gentlemen that I work with, who we own a business together, is I just get to play the women's event, and they can work.
I like the wording. I get to play. That's right. Good on you, girl.
It's the only thing I've written into my contract is I play the women's event regardless. So
yeah, good on you.
The great thing about that this year is it's been given a whole day to play out. Usually it's been a nighttime event. It's always been capped at around 30 runners with alternates. So last year I think they got 34 or 35 runners at the end of the day. But it's always had to be played alongside one or two other events. And it kind of gets a little bit turbo-y towards the end of it. So unless you can build up your chip stack early on, it's a tough game to play if you're not used to playing turbo type poker. So this year they gave it its own day.
Oh, how cool! Go the girls.
Yeah, go the girls. So hopefully it will get the numbers it needs for it to stay as a day event. But I'm really, really looking forward to that one. There's been a lot of interest. I live in Wellington, so there's been a lot of interest here from wanting to play that game this year. There's been a lot of interest from other clubs around the North Island that are heavily full of women's players and really good women players as well. So everyone's looking forward to seeing how that one pans out this year. And then
can I ask, how well do you do?
I got third in 2016.
Good on you.
And I've never gotten that.
Get up on that average.
Pardon?
What does the total prize pool get to on average for the women's?
For the women's, it gets to around, I think it was 8,000 last year, 8 or 9,000. So you're looking at 4,000 up top, which isn't too bad for the turbo type game that it was. But the women are looking for a little bit, something that's a little bit longer, a little bit meatier, that they can actually play poker rather than what we kind of term as playing bingo at the end of it. Yeah. So it's going to be an interesting day sure, on Wednesday, the 19th of August.
Awesome. Okay,
then-
so I'll put the schedule back up, and then
And then on this Thursday, Thursday starts what they call the Big Three. So these three events have been at the New Zealand Champs since the beginning, and the Canterbury Champs. So Canterbury is the province that Christchurch is in. The South Island Champs. So Christchurch is in the South Island, and the New Zealand Champs main event, which there's a day 1A at the beginning of the tournament, which is on the Saturday previous, and then Saturday following they're having a day 1B recharge event, and then they'll run, I think both of those days they're running to level 11, and then they'll play out the rest of it on the Sunday. And those people who didn't get to further their main event careers, there's a $700 big stack event on a Sunday as well, and that basically ties up the week.
it's a great week of poker, and like I said, the entry amounts are really feasible. Like your 2,000 for your main event, and even the big stack for 700. Your freeze out. I think that'd be a great game to play on the Sunday, the 23rd. Myself, I'm a fan of freeze out, so that would be awesome to play in that.
The thing with Christchurch Casino is it is a small casino as far as casinos go. So even though people love playing freeze outs, and it would be lovely to just play the main event as a complete freeze out, because it's got re-entry, you can re-enter once, I think. It's just to build pots at the end of the day. You get a chance if you're able to shoot another bullet into the event for yourself if you're able to. But we all love a freeze out, but we all want to see those pots grow a little bit more as well. So
True.
and I think Warren at the Christchurch Casino, who's the poker manager there, he's done a really good job out of this year's schedule, considering the things that he's come up against in the short amount of time now that he has to get it all ready.
Yeah, no, it looks great. So in your time, Joe, not only working at the casino, obviously prior to starting into 9-2-Off Productions, who would be your most famous pro player that you've come across, if you have?
I did meet Joe Hasham. I think internationally wise, he would probably be. I think that's the one.
Yeah.
And just after he won the WSOP.
Oh, nice.
And that was really lovely. He brought over some people with him as well. I think there was a nice relationship between Australian and New Zealand poker players. There still is now, where we still get a lot of, not as many, but still a lot of Aussies coming over to play at the New Zealand Poker Champs, especially. So he was, I think he's the most famous poker pro that I've met.
Yeah, we got to see him again at the Aussie Millions, the beginning of January. Yeah, he's always nice to see.
Yeah.
He does grace the major events wherever he can,
Yeah.
which is good to see. He supports the game in his own country,
yeah.
As well as everywhere else, which is great.
We have young poker pros here in New Zealand, who always, when they can, come back, especially to Christchurch, to play the game there. And there's people like Hamish Corshaw, who won I think it was an Asia Poker Tour event earlier this year, and he final tabled the Aussie Millions last year. Um, young guns like Paul Hocken, Carly Hawes, they all play overseas at various times during the year, but if it allowed, they will all come home and play at the New Zealand Poker Champs. They just really like Warren. They like the events he puts on, because people get well looked after down there, not just poker pros, but just people that come and play. And everyone's always really nice and considerate about how they talk about Warren and his staff and his events. So
It's good to support.
yeah, and
Yeah.
it's good to see people coming back year after year and bringing new people back year after year. And that's kind of what we at 9-2-Off are trying to promote, grassroots poker, so we can get people to these other events where they may not have been in the past because they think it might be too much for them or too good for them, or for whatever reason they haven't thought they could take the step up, where we've seen how they've played and thought, wow, it's the same game. It's the same game. The numbers are just bigger at the end of the day. But nothing much else changes in poker except the way that you have to think about it.
Yeah, that sounds great. So I know we have a lot of Kiwis here down under, and a lot of them play poker.
Yeah.
So we have got a pretty big following here in Australia with the New Zealand players. And that would have been my question to you too. What about the New Zealand's? How big is poker in NZ?
I'm not sure. Within the communities where it's played, it's big.
Yeah.
But outside of those communities, nobody knows anything about it.
Yeah. What about the local leagues, Joe? Do you have much to do with the local leagues around in NZ that provide the poker?
So I have a lot to do with poker here in Wellington or in the Hutt Valley. I used to run a local pub poker league game, and that league has games every night of the week. They're small buy-in, low level, done in 4-hour type games that anybody off the street can play. And then locally, there's 3 major poker societies here in Wellington. There are plenty of them dotted all around the country. A lot more in the North Island than there is in the South Island. But it's there. And the numbers grow within each society and within each club. So I guess if the numbers are growing there, the next step is get the numbers to grow for big events. And I think but it's kind of hard to gauge in the whole business of everything that's going on in the country, whether it's as big as we think it is.
Yeah. So after the New Zealand Poker Champs, what is the next major event within New Zealand with poker? Would that lead you into the new year? I mean, hopefully everything with COVID goes well, et cetera, but is the next major one in Wellington in March, or is there one in between?
Okay.
Usually.
So when I talk about the Wellington Poker Champs in March, they're actually held in Christchurch. There's a big long story involved, and I don't know the ins and outs of it, but it's
we're not into the political.
It's been held in Christchurch for like as long as I've known, so about 15 years. And as far as I know, it will always be played there. As far as other events go, so our laws in this country kind of hamstring the way that poker can be played outside of casinos. So casinos can offer whatever prizes they want for whatever money they want, as big as it can get. Societies can't. They have a top prize that they can give away of, I think it's $5,000 for a society for per event. Outside of that, you can, so I think that's class 2. Outside of that, there's a class 3 license that can be applied for from the Department of Internal Affairs. And in October, Labour Weekend, which is at the end of October, that's when the next event for me is, and that's called the Ultimate Poker Weekend at the Petone Workingmen's Club here in Wellington, and they're guaranteeing a first prize of $10,000 for a main event, which will, I think, it's a an $80 entry with two $40 rebuy or add-ons. So effectively $160 entry for I think a total of 45k in chips, but it's sold out for the last 4 years, and it gets 297 runners. That's all it's allowed. Yeah, so that's awesome. That's the next thing for me, which is at the end of October.
In October.
Yeah, and then after that, we'll be back in Christchurch for the November champs.
Oh, so then it'll be the November champs and then into the new year for the Wellington, yeah. Okay. So pretty much every couple of months, like every quarter, you've pretty much in NZ, there's an event happening, a bigger event as such. Yeah.
Yeah. And at the moment, as far as I know, Auckland Casino doesn't have any poker happening. So these are the events that are happening in the country at the moment. All the societies are having their own $5,000 events. They have their own once a year type thing as well. So Whanganui, which is 2 hours north up the road, they're having an event in mid-September, which I might go and just play. They're having a women's event for theirs as well. So I think
that's nice.
Yeah. And there's a society here in Wellington that they have a women's event once a year. It got scrapped this year because we were in lockdown, but they sold out at their 66 runners last year. So there's a lot. There's little things happening and little things everywhere. So there's enough to keep busy.
That's good to see.
Yeah.
All right, Joe, it's come to that time. With 60 seconds with Queen Bee. Are you up for it?
I'm up for it.
You sure?
Yeah, no, I'll just lie.
Okay. Don't lie. Hang on a minute. Let me see my little thing. And it's gone, as usual. As soon as you go to do something, something happens, right?
Yeah.
Where are we? Okay. So I'll put on my little clock. Where are we? Okay, you ready?
Yep.
So what's your favourite event that you've covered so far?
My favourite event that I've covered? Probably the main event last year, the New Zealand Poker Champs. That was pretty exciting because at no point did I ever know who was going to actually take it out until it was completely done. And it was also exciting because it was the last one of a very long week, and I was very tired and just wanted to go home.
Yeah, I know that feeling. You just want to get out of there, right? So was it a person that you would have expected or not expected? Like, were they in the running?
Yeah. But at that final table point of that game as well, it could have been taken out by anybody. So
yeah,
it was kind of nice. We went back. We actually had to go back the next day to watch the final 4 play it out. So it was nice to see John Pye take it out at the end of the day.
Okay, so what's your favourite well, what's the most New Zealand saying on a poker table? The most popular saying that you hear a lot of.
Let's go. There's another let's go.
I love it. I love it. And finally,
you know you're not in as much trouble either when somebody says let's go.
oh really? So it's a good thing. I might use that next time I'm at a poker game.
Whenever somebody said that to me, I find I'm in a better position than I thought I was. So I'm like occasionally.
So Joe, being with 9-2-Off Productions, if you had the one time in that field, which event would you choose to be able to do the media for?
I'd like to have a crack at the Aussie Millions main event. I think that would be amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to travel to the other side of the world when we've got so much good poker being played here on this side of the world.
It's fantastic. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. There's so much happening in both, like, well, now, yeah, getting more of an insight of what's happening in NZ and with the casino and poker. But in Australia, we've got so much that happens. Yeah, pretty much in all states, and poker rooms are opening now and offering those bigger events every quarter. You know, they're all getting those $100,000-$200,000 games, tournaments, main events, which are fantastic.
Yeah, and I know that societies here are already looking at those games over there to start saving up for and getting involved in, and like it's nice to go away to another country that's quite close and play poker and have a holiday.
Yes, I agree totally.
But yeah, I'd like to give an Aussie Millions crack event there.
Yeah.
Any main event would be amazing, but any event will do.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. We were there this year, and I can tell you the buzz. Excuse the pun, but yeah, the buzz was just like. I mean, I've been a few times actually down there to play, but you know, actually doing coverage and meeting people on a different, like the different side of the table, and actually seeing the pro players and you know how they play and just their reactions and their persona, everything, the aura, just it's just magic. Like, and you know, your adrenaline, you know that, you know, you can have long days of working 14, 16-hour days, but you know, you can go to bed 2, 3 in the morning, but you're up at like 9 and you're ready to go again. I don't even know where I got the energy from, but yeah, like it happens.
We have 3 of us that travel, and so we have like this pretend roster that we try not to have all 3 of us at the event at the same time. Never happens. There's always somebody who wants to just work through. It's always all of us. It's a total fear of missing out on something. So,
I was just going to say, it's like that, oh my God, it'd be that day or that time you're not there, you've missed it. And it's like, oh, I knew I should have been there.
I think we play for a couple of hours a day at some point, even though we said to each other, go take 4 or 5 hours away, we won't need you, it'll be fine. But that person's always back within 2.5 hours going, right, what's up next? And then at the end of it, you're like, oh, I don't want to come back tomorrow. And your eyes are open the next morning and it's just like, let's go.
Yeah. And do you find too, once you finish an event and you come back and it's like a few days later and you're thinking to yourself, I don't want to see poker. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to even see a poker table, a poker player, nothing. Next minute, you get a text or a phone call and it's like, hey, do you want to go get a game? Like there's a tourney here or this or that. And it's like, yeah, I'll see you there. That goes out the window.
I miss all the people that I haven't seen for 48 hours.
Yeah. I know, I'm hearing you. Yeah. Well, Joe, I can just say this has been a pleasure and thank you so much. But we will be in touch and we will keep in contact with the August championships and let the people down under know what's happening there as well, over that duration, that week duration of play. I'm sure our audience would be delighted to know what's happening over there before the events. So we'll keep tabs with that, and hopefully wish all the players all the best as well, and you guys as well.
Thank you very much. Thanks so much for having us. This has been an absolute pleasure for me today. So thanks for asking, and thanks for asking some questions.
You're more than welcome, sweet. Okay, we'll talk soon, and please keep safe during these times as well.
You guys too. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Joe. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.